Hello, I'm Simon Christie and welcome to a very special edition of Your 4x4. Now on tonight's episode we're again riding with our good friends John and Anne Morton as they cross the Simpson Desert. But no normal trip through the Simpson, this is the first people who got to cross the Simpson during 2012, the 50th anniversary of crossing the Simpson, and it's first here for Your 4x4. Let's get stuck into it. Your 4x4 is proudly presented by Verima Diesel, ARB 4x4 accessories, Piranha off-road products, Kmart rear end protection, wholesale automatic transmissions and Lightforce performance lighting.
Located within the driest region of the Australian continent, the Simpson Desert is a large area of red sandy plains, salt lakes and dunes. It can throw up many challenges when attempting to cross it.
Well, good morning everyone and welcome to our first Across the Desert for 2012 trip.
As it was the 50th anniversary of the first vehicle crossing by Reg Spriggan family of Arkaroola fame, Vic Widman of Great Divide Tours was leading a group of adventurers to attempt the first crossing of the desert after the 3-month summer closure. There was a feeling of anticipation throughout the group as they stopped for a break at the Prairie Hotel at Parachulna in South Australia's Flinders Ranges. There had been record rainfall in Central Australia, which threw doubts on whether this trip would even go ahead. Just north of Lyndhurst are the ruins of Farina. During the wet years of the 1880s, plans were laid out for a town with over 400 quarter-acre blocks, as it was believed that the area would be good for growing wheat and barley. It was obvious that Vic's group were experiencing similar conditions to the farmers of Farina, with the outback seemingly never having had so much rain. Maree was the destination that night, and the convoy soon pulled into the lengthening shadow of the Maree Hotel. Maree, at the corner of the Unadata and Birdsville tracks, has historic connections with the Old Ghan Railway and the legendary Tom Cruise of the Maree to Birdsville Mail Run. The Unadata track passed to the southernmost tip of Lake Eyre South, which was now an inland sea. Impressive as this was, it is only a fraction of the size of the main Lake Eyre. Nearby Kurtamurka is another remnant of the Ghan Railway. The abandoned siding has been home to the many fettlers who looked after the railway line. Further on, in the middle of a dry, barren clay pan, is a mini oasis. Blanche Cup is the name given to this mound spring, its clear water and luxuriant growth coming as a complete surprise. The nearby bubbler put on an impressive display. Mound springs are a natural outlet for artesian water. The next stop for the travellers was the remote William Creek Hotel. It's a great place to quench your thirst and leave your business card, if you can find a spare spot. After spending a comfortable night at Trevor Wright's camping ground, Vic bid his old mate farewell. Trevor, who also owns the airfield, commented that this must be the only town in Australia that has more aircraft than its total population. Back on the track, the strong crosswind kindly blew the dust away. The track, which was generally in good condition, passed through uncharacteristic fields of green. was also uncharacteristic to find structures this grand in the outback. The Algabakina Bridge, at 578 metres, is the longest bridge in South Australia. Part of the Old Gown Railway, it was completed in 1892 and was originally destined to span the Murray River, but someone got the measurements wrong and it was found to be too short. Just when the travellers were getting used to seeing green grass on the track, they pulled into Untitled and the Pink Roadhouse. It was hot, somewhere in the high 30s, and the Roadhouse did a roaring trade in drinks and ice creams while everyone topped up with fuel. The convoy left the Untitled track and headed north to Hamilton Station. Mount Dare was to be the starting point for the desert crossing, and Vic was hoping to reach there later that day. The going was slow though, and with the weather threatening, the tension was building at the thought of setting up camp in a thunderstorm.
Well, our entry for the week comes from Jared O'Connell, and Jared has written, "I'm loving my new FJ Cruiser. Nothing beats chucking the tent on the roof and taking the family over to Stratty for a weekend of beach camping."
For sending in that email, you've won yourself a Lightforce tack torch and stubby holder. All entries go into the running for the ARB twin motor portable compressor, the projector inverter, and the amazing Carryboy canopy worth $3,500. Thanks to all of the sponsors, and check the website for full details. If you drive a four-wheel drive with or without a dual battery kit, then it's time to upgrade. Modern vehicles and modern battery technologies require smart electronics, and the Piranha Off-Road Products DBE140 dual battery controller has all the smart grunt you will need packed into an affordable and tiny package. Priced at just $170, the Piranha DBE140 is the smart choice in dual battery management. For more information on how you can stay charged, visit piranhaoffroad.com.au. Driving an automatic four-wheel drive off-road can be downright dangerous. But for all you auto owners, help is now at hand. The auto experts at Wholesale Automatic Transmissions now offer complete 4x4 and off-road kits for most popular four-wheel drives. If you need to improve your towing capabilities, need more control for descents, or just want your auto beefed up for improved performance, then contact Wholesale Automatic Transmissions and they'll ship what you need worldwide. Check the website for details. Does your diesel smoke, lack power or have poor fuel economy? Then you need the Berrima Diesel treatment. Fine-tuning diesels since 1956, the Berrima Diesel technicians are Australia's leading diesel wizards. From a turbo installation to a high-tech dyno tune, when you think diesel, think Berrima Diesel. Visit thedieselexperts.com and make an appointment for more power, more torque and better fuel economy.
The next morning, an oncoming vehicle was spotted bouncing along towards them. It was the welcoming committee from Mount Dare, consisting of Dave Cox, the owner of the hotel, and Jeff, the man behind the bar. Dave was to join the convoy and escort them across the desert. At Mount Dare, the travellers were made welcome, where they fueled up, fed up, and soaked up the atmosphere as they enjoyed the last bit of luxury they would experience for a while. The plan for day one was to head for Perny Bore, first visiting the Dalhousie ruins and the Mound Springs, a total of approximately 150 kilometres. The ruins consist of the homestead, stockman's quarters and the blacksmith's building. A short distance away is Dalhousie Springs, which is popular with travellers and has a large camping area.
Here we are at Dalhousie Springs. This is one of the thermal springs on the western edge of the Simpson Desert. We've just gone for a swim and it was absolutely beautiful. It's so hot in the water, you can't imagine it. This is probably what we call the starting point of the Simpson Desert. From here we start heading east. We cross a big delta they call the Spring Creek Delta. and then we start to get into the sand dunes.
The travellers found the Spring Creek Delta to be memorable, to say the least. Dave had forged ahead, but was now well and truly stuck, while his travelling companion, Andrew, wallowed in the thick, oozing mud. With the combination of experience, perseverance and teamwork, Dave eventually got through. Although Dave made it across and back again, not all the vehicles had as much clearance as the ute. Also, it was not known what lay ahead. Having the well-being of his travellers at heart, Vic was justifiably worried.
Alright guys, well as you see, Spring Creek Delta has been a bit of a challenge, so at this stage looking at trying to get round it is probably too far and an unknown. I think what we'll do is we'll just head back down here a bit, find a little swale and just make a camp for the night, toss up our options and reassess tomorrow morning, okay?
Their crossing of the Simpson looked to be in doubt, and the mood was sombre. No one wanted to give up and turn back. The next morning, Vic took another look at the situation. The area to the side of the track was a regular glue pot and not an option. However, there was a ridge that was drying out and was reasonably firm. Dave, who didn't know the meaning of Plan B, had already made his decision. He put his left wheels up on the ridge, his right-hand wheels in yesterday's wheel rut, and gave it all he could. This gave him enough momentum to drag himself through the sloppy section at the far end. He was through, and in one go. Graham and Jill in their trusty 80 series was next to give it a go.
So I think we'll get through there.
A bit of fun if nothing else.
Unfortunately, Graham slipped out of Dave's wheel track and ended up in the quagmire. The mud tyres soon turned to slicks and Graham and Jill were going nowhere. In the meantime, Dave and Andrew went ahead to recce the track to Perney Bore. Now the recovery procedures were put into action, the intention being to drag Graham back into the correct wheel ruts. The combination of shovel work, winching and towing was to no avail.
Okay, look, what we're trying to do now is we've been unable to pull it backwards without getting out of the bog. So now we're going to go forward. We've got a bit of dry ground, and the idea is to pull the vehicle forward, and you should be able to get some steering. If you had no steering going backwards, a little bit of steering, you might be able to get himself up onto the dry ground. So hopefully this will work.
And it did. This was good news. The shovel gang returned to their vehicles. One by one they headed across.
There we go. Easy done.
And it did look pretty easy in the end. The travellers were glad to be on the move again as they headed for Perney Bore. Dave and Andrew led them up the track before diverting to higher ground to avoid another swamp area. Where the track was firm, the water was confronted head on. Craig and Pam gave their Hilux a complete colour change. After crossing a few small dunes, they all filed into Perney Bore. The Perney camp area offers a toilet and a hot shower. The water comes from the bore, which was put down by the French Petroleum Company in the early 1960s. The bore ran unchecked until 1988, when its flow was controlled.
Now our question for the week comes from Ken Ware, and Ken wants to know, What is a pyro gauge and why is it needed? And what is a good temperature range? Now I know the expert for this one is Reinhard Leimroth from DP Chip.
The exhaust temperature is another question people ask. Yes, we do fit pyrometers, but we don't normally push it because it gives people another thing to look at and worry all the time. In general, if the vehicle is set up correctly, driven correctly, and the fuel injection system is maintained properly, you should not have an exhaust temperature problem. You could say exhaust temperature 450, 550, depends on load, on temperature, on a multitude of factors. It might run to 650 degrees. It's fairly hot then, but some vehicles will run around that on load, of course. If you're running empty, you don't have that temperature. Often it's caused if the system has been set up wrongly. Poor air filters are starving of air, the fuel gets into it, they're running hot, blocked exhaust, multitude of factors can change that pyrometer temperature gauge, and that goes high up, and people worry, of course. The thing which we like is often on a vehicle is a boost gauge. Manufacturers don't fit boost gauges either. But a boost gauge at least gives you an idea what the boost is on your turbocharger in your manifold, and I find that a very good indication of the turbocharger operation, and you can drive by that. You can pick the best spot on it. As you're driving, you get the maximum boost, which you can soon find, and if you're backing off slightly, you can see as the gauge starts to drop, that's probably the best spot where the most power is. So that's probably the main things which we suggest. But again, if you go into very hard trips on a weekend, the vehicle has to be maintained very, very well.
For asking that question, you've won yourself a Piranha. Clamp it. All entries go into the running for the Wholesale Automatics full automatic transmission kit, including a heavy-duty valve body, converter lock-up switch and temperature gauge. A Lightforce HID 50-watt set of 170mm strikers, the Black Widow premium awning, and the RFI antenna kit.
The next generation of shock absorbers is here. Leading the way in 4x4 suspension development, Old Man Emu introduces the most advanced and finely tuned shock absorber on the market. Nitro Charger Sport incorporates a new valving system that instantly adapts to all terrain for an outstanding smooth ride and phenomenal control. Backed by a 3-year, 60,000-kilometre warranty, you can trust Nitro Charger Sport, built in Australia for Australian conditions.
To truly see the road ahead, some drivers need ESP. Others simply choose Lightforce. Welcome to Lightforce country, where your safety is our vision.
Whether you've got ESP or not, Lightforce Performance Lighting is the smart choice.
Sometimes the front runners lead from behind. And when it comes to protecting your rear, Kmart are world leaders in rear end protection and tow bar combinations. The just released Prado 150 is no exception, with a bar that is designed to follow the car's lines and work with your sensors and factory camera. For the best in rear end protection, trust Kmart. It's a statement, not just an accessory, for the toughest of 4x4 trips. For more info, go to kmart.com.au.
This week's first entry is this good-looking GU Patrol, all set up for some outback touring. This shot was taken at Parachilna Gorge in the Flinders Ranges. Our next photo was snapped at Coffs Harbour. The 60 series is looking great, fully restored and ready for another 25 years of off-roading. Now this Pajero got a little bit stuck on a beach drive at Coffin Bay in South Australia, although it didn't take much to get it free and enjoy the rest of the day on the sand. How good does this look? Parked on top of Mount Caree, this was the Wrangler's first trip off-road. It'll soon be sporting an ARB bar and plenty of other accessories. And finally we have this D40 Navara, ready to set up camp at Fays Bluff in Western Australia. The Navara has been set up for some long distance touring and it does a great job of it.
If you've just seen your photo, be the first to email Danny at your4x4.com.au and you'll win the Projector DC20 12 volt to 12 volt charger. All photos go into the major drawer of a Kmart rear bar, a Berrima DP chip and a Travel Buddy oven. Check the website for full details. Just a quick reminder to visit your4x4.com.au for info on all of the prizes still on offer this series, which includes a DP chip, Lightforce HID driving lights, a Kmart rear step and a Carry Boy canopy. All these and plenty more, and there's only 1 week left to get your entries in, so be quick.
Spirits were high as they broke camp the next morning. They were off to an early start, heading straight into the sun. At Wonga Junction, they kept to the left and followed the sand track known as the French Line. During the day, Vic gave each vehicle a turn at being in front. It was a unique experience not to have any wheel tracks ahead of you. It had been a good day's travel. They had covered almost 120 kilometres. Vic chose a campsite not far east of the Erabina track intersection.
What we're hoping to do is try and get a little bit east of Popple's Corner today, so if we can do that we should be tracking pretty well.
Dave led on, his fresh tracks clearly printed on the smooth sand. A lone camel was sighted ahead. Dave decided to take advantage of the situation.
These tracks are becoming quite vague, getting a little bit more difficult to actually crest over them, but we're lucky enough that we're following a camel and he seems to know the easiest way, so we'll just follow that.
He soon closed in on the fleeing beast. Camels have been known to run many kilometres in front of vehicles without getting off the track.
He's just stopped in front of us now.
This one was not going to play the game. The travellers were beginning to appreciate what a challenge it must have been for Reg Sprigg and his family and 3 other vehicles to forge their way across this large expanse of desert 50 years ago. They had no tracks or reliable maps to follow and had to rely on aerial photos and their own navigational skills. On top of that, Reg's family of 4 had to share their 3-speed petrol Nissan with a 44-gallon drum of fuel. And there was no air conditioning. More salt lakes were encountered. Andrew did the inspection and Dave the test drive.
Wasn't very soft at all.
Dave was happy and called the others across. All they had to do was follow in his wheel tracks. It quickly became apparent that it was not as easy as it looked.
How good was that?
On the east side of Lake Pepple is where the Northern Territory, Queensland and South Australian borders meet. It is named Pepple Corner after Augustus Pepple, who surveyed the South Australian border in 1878. A replica of the original Coolabah post has been placed a few metres from the less romantic concrete one.
Okay, boys and girls, hopefully our last day in the Simpson Desert, and we've still got about 150 kilometres to go. Probably 100 of that is fairly interesting sand dune driving, so we're certainly going to have to get into it. It's a big day. They do get bigger as we go further east, just what you wanted to hear, but they do get wider apart, so they're not as frequent.
They had all heard of it. Some had experienced it. The biggest dune of them all, Big Red. They had it all to themselves. Not a tyre mark, not even a footprint. Vic knew that this crossing had been a great achievement, overcoming the challenges of weather, water, mud and sand. And it was a very satisfied group that gathered at the base of this mammoth dune.
Across the Desert 2012.
Well, a huge thank you to John and Anne Morton, and congratulations for being the first to cross the Simpson Desert for 2012, the 50th anniversary of a crossing of the Simpson Desert. Now also, it's very exciting because we've just come back from the Simpson Desert, and the whole of Series 8, February 2013 of Your 4x4 will be our amazing trip up through outback South Australia, across through the Simpson Desert and back down to Broken Hill. So make sure you watch out for that. Series 8, Your 4x4 2013. Well, thanks Danny for looking after the competitions. Thanks Miranda. Thanks the team behind Your 4x4, and thank you the viewer. I look forward to your company next week. I'm Simon Christie. We'll see you then.